Hello, Internet. Good morning. I am excited today. I think this microphone is working. I always second guess myself because, I can't hear me via the microphone. I can hear me just fine when I speak. Let's see here. This week, we had an exciting week. We put 2 properties under contract. We closed on another 3 properties, which reminds me of something I need to scratch out on my to-do list. And let's see. The 2 properties that we put under contract, we actually did really well on. So one is to settle in the state, and the other is just being unloaded by an out-of-state investor, and it comes occupied, and it was recently remodeled. So the entire house looks very nice. The resident there keeps a very clean house, fantastically clean. Probably not correct. So it's a fun little house. It's small. It's about 600 square feet, and it's 2 stories. So it's got a very small footprint, but it's a huge lot. Looks really cool. So we were able to get first position mortgages on those. And let's see here. What else? I think that's about it. This week was pretty short. I think it's because it was a holiday week. I hope everybody had a good 4th. Let's see. Hey, good morning. I just sent you an email. Looking forward to connecting today. Thanks for being on as well. Let's see. Let me get this up, saying that I have no idea what I'm talking about and hardly know who I am. Let's see. What else? If you have any questions for me that you do not want to ask on this live stream for some reason, then here's my email address. Feel free to email that. I am a little bit behind on emails, and for that, I apologize. But I would be dishonest with myself if I said this was out of the norm. I am horrible at emails, keeping up with those things. And also, well, you know what? Any form of communication. I've got good excuses, but at the end of the day, they're really just excuses. I think in a perfect world, I would never have to check email. But that's not a very productive way at living anymore. So I kind of miss the days. Now, I hardly remember them before smartphones. And also before smartphones, I was in elementary school. I think it was 8th grade. I had a Palm Pilot. I thought that was real cool. I worked hard. I saved some money, to my recollection. Maybe not my parents. and bought a Palm Pilot. And I was team Palm Pilot, not BlackBerry, but the Palm Pilots. All the way up through, I think, high school. I got my first iPhone in college in like 2010. And at that point, similar to on the same sentiment of what I was just saying, I went to the phone store to get a flip phone because I was really tired of all these text messages and emails. And I went to the store for a flip phone. It was $150 for a flip phone. And that's when iPhones were doing their little sale for $1. So it was financially irresponsible of me to get the flip phone instead of the iPhone. And that's when I got suckered in. That's what did it. Now I'm fully engrossed in Apple's ecosystem, and I couldn't escape even if I wanted to. Just about every piece of technology I own is Apple related. Can't get out. Can't get out. All right, let's see what we got. Good morning. Hey, I just sent you a text message as well, or an email. I get so many voicemails when I call folks. How often does your team call homeowners? Thank you, Love McNeil, for thinking that I have a team that calls homeowners. We don't do any sort of direct mail marketing. We work with wholesalers. such as yourself. And we actually don't do any of this in-house. So perhaps it would be good to start a marketing side of what we do, because we most certainly have the bandwidth to acquire more properties. And we work with a realtor who is pretty fantastic. And then, I've shared multiple times my strategy of working with a listing agent. So whenever a property that I'm really interested in comes on to the market, I'll reach out to the listing agent and try to buy it via them so they can be a dual agent and get more commission. I think that is a win for the listing agent. And then other than that, wholesalers that get my information from one way or another, they bring good deals too. So just had a wholesaler last night email me a package, a quote unquote package full of 2 properties. Interested in one, not interested in the other. So I'm trying to figure out if they can be divided up or no. Please explain appraisal gap in the simplest terms. Can't find a house in Georgia. Been looking since November. I don't know how to explain this. I'm pretty sure appraisal gap is if the sale price for the property is higher than what the property appraised for. So in that case, you would have to come out of pocket, because a bank won't lend, most likely, they won't lend for more than what the property appraised for. How do you go about finding, vetting, and creating relationships with wholesalers? That's a good question. It's one of those things that I think just kind of happens naturally. Let's see here. If I were to start investing in a new area where I have no reputation and am not established whatsoever, then what I would do is I would go onto the World Wide Web, likely Facebook and Bigger Pockets is where I'd start. And I would Google or search for things like, let's say I wanted to go to Atlanta, Georgia. That's a horrible, because the people from Atlanta on here are going to laugh. It probably doesn't work in Atlanta. That's too big of a market. But nonetheless, I would go things like Atlanta real estate investors and I'm sure there are going to be hundreds of Facebook groups that are specific to that area. And then I would go on Bigger Pockets and look for real estate investor meetups in Atlanta. I would find the corresponding groups or how they communicate with each other. I would ask to be added on the wholesalers' lists, because the way that wholesalers make money is, sure, having the ability to find deals is one arm of their business, and the other arm is to have a list of quote unquote cash buyers. So wholesalers always want to build out their lists of buyers, and they will happily put anyone's email address on their buyers list. So I would try to get on as many buyers lists as possible. And then I think forming a relationship and getting wholesalers to put you at the top of their list is as simple as just buying properties from them. So the more properties you buy from them, the more times they send you deals, you say yes, you're easy to work with. You don't try to negotiate away their entire premium. I think you slowly just get onto the top of their list. So that's what I would say on that. I like to think that was a helpful answer. Thank you, Tolu. Man, I sure do appreciate it. No offense, but there are only 5 people watching this stream. Is it worth your time? Yes, I think so. I am a huge fan of all the people that show up, and it always starts out slow. And then it, if we make it to an hour, 2 hours in, it generally gets to somewhere between the 10 and 30 range. And it's one of those things. I'm not really playing the YouTube algorithm game. I'm not trying to figure out how to get the most amount of viewers. I'm really not looking for hundreds of people to be on this stream. I'm just making myself available for anyone to ask questions Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So people take advantage of it, and I've formed some fantastic relationships via the live stream and the YouTube channel in general. And those alone are worth me doing these Friday live streams probably for the rest of my life. So the guy that does our leasing, I met him on YouTube, and he is probably one of the coolest guys I have ever met. So for that relationship alone, everything on YouTube is worth it. Oh yeah, there you go. Love McNeil. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Let's see. Let me think of some fun things that I can share that I have learned this week, because as you guys are familiar, we rehabbed one property, and I'm starting to get a little bit more hands-on in this real estate venture of mine. So now, last year, I don't remember when, we purchased a house, and right after we purchased it, we had just an absolute monsoon of a rainstorm. And apparently that area is bad about flooding, like the basement's flooding. And also in the area, after this happened, I talked to several of the neighbors, and when it rains really hard, I have no idea how these things are connected underground, but the sewer drains will sometimes back up into the basements. Don't know how, but it has to do with being overwhelmed with water somehow. Anyway, that basement flooded, and it is partially finished. So there was some wood framing, there was some carpet in the basement, and one of these, it wasn't like an official water remediation company. It's like a carpet cleaning upholstery business. They came out, love the guy a lot, use him very often. And he set up about 7 of those large, like air movers is what they're called, and a big dehumidifier. We left those in there for about a week to get everything dried out and all the moisture out of the wood framing and whatnot. And these water remediation companies are extraordinarily expensive. And this guy cut me a fantastic deal. Again, no complaints. But the total bill came out to be somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000. I'm pretty sure it was like $2,500 or $2,800. And ultimately, what he did was appropriately and skillfully position these fans in a certain place, and then put the dehumidifier kind of in the middle. And, it's got like a 40-foot drain hose, and drained it out of the property. I, especially with the amount of properties that we have and the amount of properties that we have with basements that are prone to flooding when things get real rainy, that would be a big bill to swallow each time it rained. So when we used a property management company, there were a couple of times where after a really heavy rain, we spent somewhere around $5,000 to $10,000 just to get all of the water out of basements. So it quickly got on my radar of, when we struggle with this kind of stuff in the future, I need to go ahead and just buy a lot of this equipment and learn how to position these fans and do everything myself. So yesterday was the first time that I was able to position. I purchased several of these fans. I bought a dehumidifier. It's on the way. I don't have it yet. So now we have fans that we can go dry everything out. And I am well on my way to becoming a water remediation hobbyist. I'm very excited about it. Very excited. Can you do a live assessment of a house up for sheriff auction next week? A live assessment of a house for sheriff sale. That'll be fun. I think I could do that. I think I will do that. That's a good suggestion. We could use PropStream. We could just go in Montgomery County and find a couple. Yeah. Yeah, we got all the tools for that. I think I learned how to share my screen last week using this program. Yeah, let's do that. I'll make a note of it. Yeah, good stuff. So a lot of no. Love McNeil. I am not doing this for anyone else. I'm not trying to uh, do this. I am only doing it for the properties that we own that water in the basement occurs. Not trying to do not trying to do a side hustle. Um, although maybe no, because then I would need more. Because if somebody else is having that issue, probably means it rained, which means that I probably have one of our properties that has the issue too. I would need a lot more equipment. Yeah, no side hustle, just protecting our properties. Um, I don't know about that property in particular. The one thing that makes it worse is that basement does have like a shower and toilet and I don't know why I'm listening. It has a finished bathroom in the basement, like a full bath. That's an easier way to say it than listing out all the things that are inside of a bathroom. So it's got a bathroom in the basement, and the shower drain is where a lot of the stuff was backing up from. So if we continue having issues with it, then we're likely just going to remove that bathroom from the basement. For the most part, with the exception of this property, which was a unique example that I led with, most of the water that arrives in basements can be deterred by just deviating, diverting the groundwater appropriately. So a lot of times, gutters get backed up, the downspouts disconnect, or the grade to the property is like towards the foundation. And that is how water mainly gets into basements. So drying out a basement generally only consists of diverting that groundwater, cleaning out the gutters. We dig a lot of trenches and we connect the downspouts to like PVC drain pipe and take it like all the way out to the street, all the way to the alley, or sometimes in some cases where there wasn't a storm drain close by or there wasn't a way that we could get it out to the street, we would dig really big holes and fill it with gravel and drop off the PVC drain pipe to that big hole. Thank you for all you do. You don't know how much this means to a lot of us that we get all this information for free. Thank you, Tolu. You've motivated me so much, and I'm under contract for myself. Wow, you did that fast. I actually saw the note that I took on you. Let's see. Oh man, I thought I put a date on it. You just closed on your first one, Tolu. That's awesome. 3 houses in 15 months. I hope this testimony let you know every Friday is worth it. Absolutely, Tolu. Man, that was fast. Good work. So I got the numbers for your first one right here, though. My live stream notepad. 185,000 purchase price and $1,200 a month is the rent. What are the numbers on this one? That's exciting. 3 properties in 15 months. You are on a roll. Lots of fire, lots of tornado damage. Do you purchase them as well? Should I call damaged homeowners? We just did a fantastic deal with a fire project. I think I called it Project Firehouse 01. I did a series on it that I never finished properly because I never showed the finished house. That was such a headache to do. All those county inspectors and whatnot. Yeah, I would entertain all of those. Since the tornado happened, over 2 years ago now. I imagine any tornado damage also now has just a lot of weather damage to it. But I would be down to look at it. Um, we would, yeah. I mean, we couldn't do many of them at one time just because those rehabs are so intensive. But yeah, I mean, hey, for the right price, any deal can work. Yeah, that's really impressive. $184K, 3 bed, 2 bath. Rent is 18 to 1900. Home is in a great school district, top 9 in Texas, built in 2003. That's awesome. So that 18 to 1900, that's better than the first deal you did. That's $1,000 cheaper and about $600 per month more in rent. I think the first one you did is probably under market because you bought it occupied, if I remember right. So is this just like the market rent, the 18 to 1900, and you need to raise your first property at some point, maybe slowly up to this? But that's awesome. Congrats on being in a good school district. Cash flow is about $400. Yeah, that's awesome. Good job on hitting that 1% mark in Texas in the top 9 school district. That's pretty awesome. First deal, second deal. My Tolu notes. Soon I'm going to have an entire page dedicated to the progress of Tolu. Location of the first property is not as good as that. That makes sense. That's awesome. And the first one was built in the 2000s as well, right? So cool. Just to echo the others, I've been saving up to get started in real rental properties, and I find mind wondering about what else I can do with the money. Coming to this weekly stream helps me stay focused on the goal. Nice. Yeah, I think starting is most certainly the hardest part. This past week, oh, this is fun. I don't think I shared it last week because I don't think it happened. Yeah, it just happened this week. We purchased a property in March, and it was owner occupied, and the owner was selling the property so that she could purchase another property, trying to upgrade. Well, the first property that she tried to purchase fell through, so we ended up renting the property back to her for a couple months while she found another place to live. Anyway, we cleaned it out on 5/28, and it sat for a little bit. I got the power turned on 6/28. So 6/28, we were at the property, getting the power turned on. Everything was good. On, I think it was like July 3rd or something, I showed up to the house, and again, we cleaned it out, and I had pictures of what it looked like when we cleaned it out. And I sent the contractor over there on Sunday to bid out how much it would be to, just rehab the entire property. And he said, "Hey, looks like somebody's still living here. You should probably let me know when they move out, and we can go ahead and get started." And I was like, "No, man, we got it cleaned out on 5/28. It might still be a little bit trashy though." He's like, "No, like there was a fresh salad in the kitchen. It looks like somebody just made it, and then they left." So I went over there, and sure enough, the front door was blocked off. You could see where somebody broke in through the back window, and it was bizarre. I mean, there was like sleeping bags and lawn chairs, which I would expect for any the squatter starting kit to include. But they went so far as to move in their own refrigerator, their own like small kitchen appliances like microwaves and toasters and coffee machines. And yeah, I thought I was being very nice, and I called some of my investor friends, and just I had never had squatters before, and they're like, "Oh, you need to kick their stuff out immediately, board it up, change the locks, whatever you got to do, but just get their stuff out." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds a little bit extreme." And honestly, it pulled on my heartstrings just a little bit. I saw some like diapers and like a shopping cart and some kid toys that weren't there previously. And I was like, "Oh no, like kids are living here." And there was some trash on the front porch of like a baby stroller. So I tore off the cardboard flaps at the top and wrote what I thought was very nice notes. I said, "Please remove all your stuff by Tuesday. We're going to start the rehab process." And I left those throughout, those little pieces of cardboard with stuff written on it throughout the house, just so that they saw it. I went back on Tuesday to make sure that they moved everything out, and they made it 10 times worse. They knocked over their refrigerator. They poured what looked like motor oil all over the living room floor. All of like their trash bags and whatnot, they like emptied it all throughout the living room. They really tore it up. Why did I start telling this story? Because I called law enforcement, and the individual that came out was interested in getting started in real estate investing. And he said that he's been looking for properties for like over a year and has just found himself getting stuck in the whole like analysis paralysis stage. So during that encounter, I did my best to pack in all of the information that I possibly could that he didn't ask for. I was just trying to be helpful, as I'm sure you could imagine. Yeah, that entire story, that very lengthy story, was just to say that I also had a conversation this week about how difficult it is to get started real estate investing and just how intimidating it is and capital intensive. But it's one of those things where, this is why I really wanted to say it. It's one of those things where I think, and what I told the officer that showed up, the first deal is not necessarily about like making money. Now, I'm not advocating that you lose money by any means, but I mean, the first deal is all about getting started, learning the motions, and kind of just like self-educating by doing. Yeah. The more you do it, it becomes a lot less intimidating for sure. But hey, how capital intensive it is always there. These things can cost so much money so quickly. First was built in 1984 and price was 154K. Oh, I have 185. I don't know what I was thinking. 154,000. All right. I've got those notes corrected on my Tolu pad. Good morning, Terry. We boarded up the house where the squatters are now, by the way, and we cleaned out all of their stuff. Yeah, just trying to be nice. Didn't work out, but hey, there's nothing better than trashing out a property twice. Super clean now, real clean. It's a big house. It's a really big, really nice house. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, but it's a little over 2,000 square feet, top bottom, with a full basement. So maybe like 2,500 square feet of like actual living space. All these older properties here, our housing stock is largely from like the early 1900s, 1900 to like 1930 or so is where most of the neighborhoods that we invest in, when they were built out. So a lot of like formal dining rooms with really cool doors, sometimes pocket doors, sometimes just those real fancy French doors with, glass in the middle of them. They're very nice. I like it a lot. Another reason that I really like the properties in these areas, I mean, they're just built very well. So last night, my mom and dad are in town. My daughter's birthday is tomorrow. My oldest daughter, she is turning 3. So we're having a little birthday party for her. And my mom likes going around to all the properties that we're working on. And there's one property that we have that was built in 1890, and it is the most solid house that we own. It is block and brick construction. It's on a fieldstone foundation, but it was done extraordinarily well. All of the corners in the house are still very square. Unfortunately, it was chopped up into a duplex, probably in the 50s, just judging by the way that the kitchens and bathrooms look. So we are going to turn that back into a single family home, which will be tons of fun. All right. Well, if you've got any questions, let's see here. Go ahead and post your questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer those and looking forward to answering those. We paid a small fortune to replace the windows in that house built in 1890. I mean, sometimes when people are remodeling these, they will frame out the really large, because this property has the windows where, I mean, like 6 to 12 inches from the floor is when the windows start, and 6 to 12 inches from the ceiling is where the windows end. So sometimes people frame them out to put a more modern window in there, because if the window is that far from the floor, you have to get tempered glass, which also increases the price. But just to stick with the awesomeness of the original architecture, we decided to keep the windows, the size, and the location that all of them are. So we've got some really cool windows in that property now as well, and it came out really nice. It's a beautiful house. Thanks. I'm sure she's very excited about it. It's fun because this is the first birthday that she's actually like cognizant of the fact that it's her birthday, and also able to like voice her own opinions, because she's talking now. She wasn't really when on her last birthday. So it's fun to see little kids that excited. I appreciate it. I'm pretty new to wholesaling. Where are you finding leads? What's a good approach with cold calling? Well, I know nothing about wholesaling. I am not a wholesaler, and I have never really made many cold calls. And I've probably made about 5, and those were not necessarily to wholesale a property. Those were just because I was interested in purchasing it. I would say, just my advice from having a little bit of familiarity with sales, and just understanding the wholesaling process. I would say the biggest thing to keep in mind is, you're just trying to solve their problem. So if the property is a burden to them, as little as resistance as possible, just taking care of that problem for them and articulating why it's a win-win for them to work with you rather than list it with like a traditional realtor. I was wondering if those super, super old homes here are worth the time to try and find a cash buyer. I think so. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about whenever we connect later is, I really want to arm you with exactly what we're looking for in a property, and give you all of our criteria and see if there's any synergy there as far as like your efforts in where you're trying to find deals. So It'll be a lot of fun. But I mean, I think, the housing stock is older, but a lot of these houses are built really, really well. Now, there are some that, I mean, you truly could not, you couldn't, you'd have to pay somebody to take them. So the city does knock over a decent amount. I know they just got a couple, I think it was like a little over 160 million or something, 130 to 160 million dollars in like grant money, and part of that money is going to be allocated towards knocking over the vacant or derelict properties. And I think that program that they're doing needs a little bit of fine tuning. They have definitely knocked over some homes that could have easily been salvaged. There are a couple, which the whole reason I have this chip on my shoulder is there were a couple of homes that I inquired to the city about purchasing, and they told me they couldn't sell them to me because there wasn't a fair process in order. And I mean, I was going to pay them to take those properties, and I guess they were on the demo list because they got demoed. They're no longer there, and I'm pretty positive that the city, it would have been more beneficial for them to take money and give me the home rather than spend money to knock the house over. But at one point, I know Dayton was knocking over close to 500 homes per year, and there are a lot that are in really bad condition. I think we accidentally ended up with one property that was in extraordinarily bad condition, and I would say it took about 50 to 60 grand in order to get it up to speed. Which, when we were first given the property, that would have put us like way underwater, because when we first got the property, I would say that the market value for it was like 30 to 45,000. But fortunately, as the market has increased, the value of that house, I think it appraised for like 80 grand, 80 to 85 grand whenever we refinanced that. So fortunately, the market turned in our favor on that one. But I definitely think there's a valid argument to tearing down a lot of these older homes. Me too. I'm really excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. And I mean, we have like 3 or 4 properties that were built in the late 1800s, 1890, 1885, and several more that were built in the 1900s. And it's a lesser known trick, but if the county has no idea when the house was built, then 1900 is the date that they put. So we've got a couple homes that were built in 1900, but I am 90% positive they were built sometime in the 1800s. All right. Questions, questions, questions. I can answer those, or try to answer those. And hey, as I am exploring doing some of this work myself, and now being a professional water remediation hobbyist, professional hobbyist, probably not real, but I'm having fun learning. I got a tutorial last night about how to place the fans to get the most amount of airflow to dry these places out. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All I'm saying is my knowledge base is growing, gaining experience, insight. All right. Alrighty now. With 16 people on here, I know somebody's got a question. I'll put up my email address too, in case you want to email me. Shy people don't want to ask questions on here. Let's see here. What would your advice to be to me at trying to get into real estate? Similar to kind of what I just said about your first deal. I would say your first deal is just getting started. It's super capital intensive. So I would say having your personal finances in order and having a decent amount of savings is probably one of the top priorities. I would say as well that Your network is really important. So I think one of the first things that I did well in real estate investing was when I moved here to Dayton. I got plugged into like a couple different groups of local real estate investors, and I was able to circumvent a lot of mistakes, a lot of like trial and error time, just by uh, running by more seasoned, experienced real estate investors. Anything that I was thinking about doing or any issues that I had. So I leaned very heavily on the local real estate investors when I first started. So building up a network, forming some really solid relationships with 2 or 3 people that have or are building the type of portfolio that you want to have as well. I think that's super important. And then educating yourself is probably just as important. So I got interested in real estate in like late 2016. I started researching it very heavily in early 2017. I left law enforcement in April of 17. I started commuting to Ohio. So I had about a 9-hour drive one way. So about 18 hours in the car minimum on a weekly basis. And I filled that time completely with real estate investing podcasts and audiobooks. And I think when you're first starting, I mean, there are just so many different avenues of real estate investing. There are so many different ways to make money in real estate investing that I would really figure out which one interests you the most. I prefer single family homes. Some investors prefer multifamilies. Some people prefer, self-storage buildings or commercial properties. It really, at the end of the day, it's all about the percentage return that you can get. Other than that, once you establish that you can make the same percent of income, whether it's single family, multifamily, or commercial real estate investing. So then it comes down to what type of problems do you want to have? Investing in the single family home space comes with its own unique set of problems that are completely separate from the multifamily space, which are both completely separate from the problems with commercial real estate investing, which are also completely separate from the problems that you would have in the self-storage space. So it really comes down to your personality, what you're trying to accomplish, and what you have like the tolerance or the patience to deal with. So I would figure out what type of property investing you want to do, and then find a couple of different people that have done that type, and also read as many books as you can find. The more interested you think you are in one specific type of real estate investing, and then do a ton of research. And just try to make your mistakes on the front end, because it's cheaper to make mistakes and learn more while you're reading and preparing, and it becomes more expensive the more involved and deep you get into real estate investing, and then start making mistakes. So that would be my suggestion. Hey, Greg C., I appreciate seeing you back, man. Have you noticed a significant decrease in rehab costs recently as lumber material prices drop? No, we don't use that much lumber. And as far as material prices go, the only area that has actually really noticeably impacted us has been roofing. Because a lot of these older homes, you tear the roof off. There's like three layers of shingle, and then there's like the 2x4s or whatever the measurements are, with like the gaps in the middle, so you can't even nail the shingles back down. So you have to put OSB or redeck the entire roof, is what the professionals say. That has gotten really expensive. Our average roof cost has been like $4,000 to $5,000 historically, and now they're closer to $10,000 to $15,000. So that hurts. We haven't done any roofs lately, since you say prices are dropping. I'm not aware that they have been dropping, but I'm happy to hear that they are dropping. Flooring prices, I mean, we use that luxury vinyl plank. Quarter round, it's like $8, five to $8 per stick. Our cabinets haven't really gone up, and our countertops haven't really gone up either. I have heard though that now the shortage is leaching over to like the water heaters, and I have heard rumors that water heaters are about to be extraordinarily short on supply. I know that we had a couple of work orders where we had to wait like 2 weeks to get the hot water heater in. Fortunately, we were able to stretch out the bad hot water heaters that needed to be replaced for those 2 weeks while we were waiting. But that would not be fun if it becomes increasingly difficult to obtain hot water heaters. Would be bad. Would be very bad. But thanks, Greg. I appreciate that question. I appreciate you being on here too, man. You're like a ninja. Let's see. I think that's about it. I think after this, I'm gonna go to Menards, visit a few properties, get some things tidied up. We last week we got 11 of our vacant properties rent ready, so that's a big win. And now I'm just going through and doing the little tiny odds and ends that are, impossible to hire out, and just making sure that they're super duper presentable before people move in. So pretty excited about that. Both water heaters in my Ohio are on their loss. I know, man. Hopefully it doesn't happen. It was just a rumor I heard, a little coconut grapevine. I hope it doesn't happen too. That would be pretty bad. Any of those major appliances, I know, last year, most appliances were really back ordered. Like we had to wait a significant time for like some refrigerators and stoves and whatnot. We don't really supply those. So we had this little tiny program that we're doing for a little bit where if somebody wanted appliances, we would provide them for $25 per appliance per month. So if they wanted the fridge, the stove, the washer, the dryer, that would be an extra $100 per month on their rent. But we're not doing that anymore. Most of the time, hot water heaters can go the distance. This is really kind of subjective. It really depends on how much you want to, like your personal risk tolerance. I would say by and large, I mean, this would still be cutting it close, but I would say $10,000 to $15,000 in savings is probably what you should have for just reserves. I mean, that used to be a good amount because you'd be able to like replace a furnace and a roof at the same time with that amount of money, but not so much anymore. It really depends on the size of the house, the age of the mechanicals. Like if everything was brand new, if you were to buy like a 2021 house, new plumbing, new mechanicals, new roof, in theory, you wouldn't need much reserve at all. if you bought an older house that had new updates on everything, in theory, you wouldn't need much of a reserve. But just from like my own personal preference, I would be apprehensive to advise anyone to invest in a property if they didn't have like $10,000 or $15,000 set aside to handle anything that might come up with their first property. I've had a couple clients on the insurance agency side that have purchased properties and then had like some like $3,000 or $4,000 plumbing issue happen almost immediately, and that's not fun. It's not fun. How do you feel about hard money lenders? I like hard money lenders. I don't use them, so I appreciate hard money. Well, I think hard money lenders are good if you can make the deal work. I think hard money lenders have a lot of origination fees, and the points that they charge are likely not sustainable unless you are doing some high dollar flips. Some of the hard money lenders charge anywhere from 1 point to 4 points just for origination. So on a $100,000 home, you're talking $1,000 to $4,000 just to have the opportunity to do the deal with that hard money. Not to mention, you're also going to have like the 8 to 15% interest on those payments as well. So I am not so sure that we've ever used a hard money lender. I don't think we have. We have, however, used money from friends and family for first position mortgages, and our first position mortgages are interest only, higher like rates that are similar to hard money lenders, so 10, 12%. However, since these are friends or family, we're finding the money and we're finding the deals. There aren't any origination fees or points or anything like that. So it's 10 to 12% interest only. Generally, our loan terms are 24 to, 2 years to 10 years. It really just depends on that. But our whole business model revolves around taking interest only first position mortgages, getting a bunch of them together, and then refinancing with a traditional lender, amortized over 20, 25 years at a much lower interest rate. So that's how we do things. If you were to throw like a real hard money lender in that wanted origination fees on every deal that they did with us, that would get really tight. Oh yeah, Ian Clip, private mortgage lender. If the deal makes sense, if the numbers work, let's do it. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. All deals make sense if the numbers work. Oh man, we've got a lot of solid people on. Cosmic Wisdom, holding down Cincinnati. Wood is still high. OSB last year was $17 for $7 in 2019. Now it's $20 a board, $40 a board. Yeah, I've heard in some places, and this might be just me getting talked around by some contractors, but I heard that it was upwards of like $70 a board at some point. It's a roofer that told me that. Pretty sure that's what I heard. $70 a board is a lot. From $7 to $70 is a big jump. The lumber yards should be proud. All right, 16 people on. I'm feeling real good. Feeling real good. There's my email address. I've got it up too. Let's see. Do you buy used appliances or brand new for your rentals? So I don't provide appliances at all. If we do provide appliances, then we used to do this. We're not offering this anymore, but we would buy new appliances for people and charge them $25 per appliance per month. I did a massive spreadsheet on that to try to figure out, how to not lose money and like what to charge. I mean, these rent-to-own appliances place or the rental ones like Aaron's or Rent-A-Center. I mean, I looked in their prices and they're charging like $25 a week. So it's definitely a lot better than that. But the reason that we went new appliances is because of like the warranty that is on them. And we use a local appliance store, not like a Lowe's or Menards or something like that, or Home Depot. And like the refrigerators, I know they have like a 10-year warranty on the compressor, stuff like that. Just makes sense. We have purchased used appliances in the past, and I kind of feel like they're jerry rigged to last, you know, a year or 2 years. So we just, by the time you buy 2 rounds of used appliances, you might as well just have purchased the one and not have had any trouble. I need to go to Menards and send out some rebates as well. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I have some rebates that I need that I need to do. How does the lack of appliances in the rental unit change the renter profile? I don't know. We since we have taken over leasing our own properties and the property management, we haven't provided appliances. I'm not so sure it does affect the renter profile. If it does affect the rental profile, then we haven't paid close enough attention to notice how. I don't know, man. Saint Gang Gang. That's a fun name to say. Saint Gang Gang. I don't know. Uh, no idea. I do my best to keep my head in the sand when it comes to stuff like this because you can easily get wrapped up in what people say they're going to do. And some things might not ever happen. So I don't know. Is that common in your area, rental units without appliances? Yes. At first, I didn't think so because the property management company that I was using really encouraged me to provide all appliances to all properties because they're easier to rent out that way, was their reasoning. And then I mentioned that to a couple other investors, and they do not provide appliances at all. And those guys make up about 1,000 units in the area. So um, I'm not alone. Now, granted, I think there are somewhere in the neighborhood of like 35,000 rental units here in the county. So it's still a small percentage, but yeah, I think it's just pretty common. When I look around at other properties listed for rent in the area, I mean, it's kind of feels like 50-50. And I mean, a lot of times when we buy properties, they come with appliances that like people leave the appliances behind. So when that happens, I mean, we just make note. The leases still read that no appliances are included in the lease, and we just let them know, like, hey, this is here, and we're going to leave it here. If you want us to remove it, we can. But if anything goes wrong with it, we're not reliable. Just it came with the house. It doesn't belong to us. We're not servicing it. It's common in Cincy. I see units without appliances here. I just supply stove and refrigerator with washer and dryer hookups. Yeah, we have washer and dryer hookups everywhere. Perhaps we don't market that enough. Maybe we should start mentioning that. Yeah, we don't provide the fridge and stove. In my area, all units come with appliances. I've got to move to Ohio. Come on, man. We've been waiting on you. You said as soon as that border opens, you're coming on down. It makes sense that all of the units come with appliances in Canada. They really take care of you up there, huh? All from hospitals to appliances. They've got your back. All right. Well, what else do we have, folks? Folks. We've been going for an hour. We've got 17 people here. I'm feeling really good. Feeling really proud of all 17 people on here. Tons of fun. Doing this every week is the highlight of my week. I'm really looking forward to just the hours of content that we're creating just by doing this every week. Your questions and me acting like I know what I'm talking about, with the rolling disclaimer reminding you that I don't, in fact, know what I'm talking about. So it's tons of fun. And again, just to harp on it, I mean, the relationships that I've built via doing this YouTube thing are pretty life-changing. I'm super thankful. I've got to meet at first, like the first, I mean, we're only like a year into the YouTube thing, and I would say there's probably 15, 20 people that are in my life now that I met via doing this YouTube channel that I am extraordinarily grateful for. So thank you all for being on here and reaching out. It is tons of fun to get to know you all. Bought a goose. You got a lot of them in Canada, right? The Canadian geese. That's funny. After how many days of no payment do you start the eviction? 1. I'm just kidding. So originally we'd had like a rolling 30. So if you had to be at least a month behind before we started the eviction process. And the only reason that we did that is a mentor of mine said that he's got a list of people that are habitually 30 days behind, but they always pay. And his whole point was, if he started the eviction process inside of that 30 days, then he was really just wasting his time because they were going to pay. So you had to be like, 2 months behind really before the eviction process started. And once you were late on that second month, on the 5th day is when he would start the eviction process. And that is the model that we used for quite some time. But like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I really don't know. At this point, we've got, now it's a little bit exaggerated at the moment. Well, not exaggerated, but it's a little bit amplified at the moment because it's just, the 9th. So we've got a couple people that are going to pay their late fees, and we've got a list of people that are going to pay on the 15th. But like right now, we've got like $50,000 worth of money out there owed. So we really need to rein that number in. That's a big number. It's a very big number. So we're going to start posting 3-day notices on the 5th of every month without that 30-day process. And we're just going to start being a little bit more proactive. And, I think most of those numbers are tied up in people that were already on the eviction process. Some of the evictions just got a little bit complicated with bankruptcies being filed and whatnot. So to answer your question very long-windedly, used to be 30 days. Now it's 5 days. So if the 5th day, the late fee is charged at midnight on the 4th day. So basically the 5th day. And then if it's not paid by the 5th and we have no communication from the individual about when it would be paid, then we go ahead and start the eviction process by posting the notice and then emailing that over to the attorney to get filed and rolling. We bought a home and noticed one thing after another that needs repairs that was not disclosed. Anything we can do? It's been over a month, so I'm not sure. For example, a roof leak that we found when it rained. AC unit not working. Man, that really sucks. Thanks, Angel. I really appreciate it. And many more things we're finding that need repair that the seller never disclosed. That's tough, man. I'm really sorry to hear all that. So did you get an inspection done? And what did the home inspector have to say about these things? If you got an inspection done and the inspector didn't find them, there is a chance that you might be able to get coverage under the inspector's errors and omissions insurance. As far as the seller goes, I would review your contract. Most places are sold as is, though. So if it's sold as is, then there's nothing you could do on the seller side. If you got an inspection done, then there's potential based on how he worded it in his inspection for coverage under that errors and omissions. And worst case scenario that I don't even want to say is just that you're kind of out of luck and it's a really painful, very expensive learning curve or learning experience. Some old-fashioned business tuition, maybe. Really sucks, though. Yes, we got an inspection and the inspector didn't test the AC because it was snowing. He didn't find the leak, so the roof looked okay. So on that roof part with the roof leak, I mean, you might be able to do some little errors and emissions stuff, but unfortunately, since it was snowing and the AC wasn't tested, I don't know. You could still test an AC unit in the snow. That's a bummer. I appreciate you, Ryan, and all the information you provide. I appreciate it. Just FYI, there's an institutional private mortgage lender that only requires as little as $20K down, even at $500K purchase price. That's cool. Duh. That's really cool. Let's say you want to help 10 people get to 10 properties. What do I need to be one of them? Yeah, good question, man. Check this out right here. This seek-wisdom.com/join. That's the mastermind group that I started. There are a couple of people that are like, I'm actively helping get to 10 doors that aren't in that group. But most certainly anyone in that group, doing everything that I can to help them get there. So, it's really near and dear to my heart to do that. That's a huge priority. One of the top priorities that I have over the next 3 years. So yeah, check that website out. There's a video on YouTube called like the Seek Wisdom Mastermind that I did. It's like 30 or 45 minutes long. And that goes through like exactly, because I wanted to be very clear about what I thought that group, what I want that group to look like. And it is $300 per month. So I wanted people to have appropriate expectations of what the group was and wasn't. So yeah, check that out. And also send me an email. And let's just chat, man. Let's just chat. Yes, we got an inspection and the inspector didn't test. How much does it cost to pay the eviction lawyer? Is he on call or he gets paid per cases? Yes. So he is a talker. So he does not charge me by the hour. He charges me by the case. And it generally comes out to be somewhere between $300 and $450 per eviction. Generally, that includes the court time, the filing, the fees, and then it gets more expensive. Like if we were to do the $450, it would be something that's a little bit more convoluted, like that bankruptcy wrench that was thrown in there. And then also filing the writs. So after the eviction is filed, after the eviction passes, it's not like that person no longer has any sort of ability to be there. If they don't move out on their own, you have to file a writ. And then, somebody from the county, I don't know. I think they call them marshals or something. They will post like a move out date. And then you call them between 8 and 8:30 on the move out date. You go to the property together. And if the person is still there, they are removed from the property, locks changed, all of that. So the high end, I would say about $450. He said roof appears to be in good condition and never found the leak. He did point out there appears to be moisture. See, this is, oh man. Thanks, man. Yeah, today, right before this call, I will tell you that I have started a list of YouTube videos that I will be making soon. And I know every week I say soon, there will be more YouTube videos. But I have started rounding up the materials. Check this out. Got my camera out and alive and well. So got my SIM card as well, ready to go. We're going places, man. Just a matter of time at this point. All the things are here. Yeah, with inspectors, I mean, I don't know. I stopped using them just because of verbiage like this. Like, it seems like they cover themselves perfectly so that no errors and omissions claims could be filed if they did, in fact, miss anything. But I don't know, man. I would give it a shot. So from what I understand, depending on how the inspector worded it, we may be able to get reimbursed through errors and omissions. How would I pursue that? First, by reaching out to the inspector. And I imagine it won't be too awesome of a conversation to have. And I mean, it would probably be a real... I mean, he would have to open up a claim on his errors and omissions insurance. I don't know how you would be able to do that unless... Now, generally, actually, now that I think about it, the inspection report, the last couple of pages might actually be his errors and omissions declaration page. So check that out. You might already have all of his information, his insurance information. I have no idea, man. No idea. If I was a speculator, I would speculate that not much is going to change and not much is going to happen. I don't think that there are so many people in default. I've also been going on a kick, though, of just not necessarily believing many statistics. So I don't know what to believe as far as how many people are in forbearance, how many people, aren't paying the way they should. And I also don't have a clear picture because there are just so many programs out there to help, like any of our people that aren't able to pay. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 different programs that are ready and willing to pay their rent, both past rent owed and future rent due. So we just got to check for one of these entities for like $9,500, which included like 3 months of prepaid rent. So it's just one of those things. I have no idea. I wouldn't even know where to begin on speculation. Greetings. We got all sorts of Canadians on this chat this morning. What a picture. And thanks, man. I appreciate virtual hugs. Toronto as well. I'll check out the report for the declaration page and see what I find. Yeah, man, send me an email. Looking forward to... Yeah, I would say that's true. An attorney that, attorneys should know. They should know how to read both the insurance declaration pages and navigate through this situation from start to finish, truly, and get their own piece of the pie. Yeah. Awesome. Well, any other questions? Any questions? See here, let me put my disclaimer back up. Questions in the chat. Let's see. Oh. Look at that. We could change it up. That's exciting. Yeah, let's be different today. I'm going with the bubble. Awesome. Well, yeah, if you got any questions, we've been going for an hour and 18 minutes. Got 20 people in the chat. Super exciting. Feeling good and super thankful for each and every one of you. So thanks for being on here and thanks for asking some questions and let me play a little some mental gymnastics and trying to figure out answers on the fly to these awesome questions that you all ask. on my little Friday morning live stream notepad that I keep. I don't know when I wrote it, presumably several months ago. But to Tom's point, I did say daily videos at 9 a.m. again, 5 videos next week. I know I said that on one of the live streams, and it never happened. I know shortly after that, I decided to, well, I have no concept of time. So I don't know when I said that, and I also don't know when I started rehabbing that property. But yeah, I should probably, I mean, honestly, in my head, I feel like I have to actually use this really nice camera with this awesome lens and make like a really professional looking video. But at the same time, I'm sure a lot of you would be very appreciative just to see me set up those fans now that I'm a water remediation hobbyist, and talk about remediating water in basements. So I should probably get over myself and just even take some crude cell phone videos just to get some good information out there. We'll see what happens. What software are you using to get that stuff on the screen? It's called StreamYard. They just showed me a little, I could put their little logo up here. Powered by StreamYard. Live with StreamYard. Bubbles. That's a cool little comment bubble. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. That's fancy. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, any sort of real estate questions, personal finance questions, questions about any of my 4 children? We have a Honda Odyssey that we just purchased. And the day we got it, I already started feeling like it's entirely too small. I tried to convince my wife that we needed to get one of those like 15 passenger vans, but that was overkill, is what she said. So I guess we just need to keep having kids until that's not overkill. My son helped a great deal on the rehab projects that we've been doing. He was fantastic at the cleanout process when we were just taking everything inside the house and putting it into the trash can and or in the driveway in lieu of a dumpster. And yeah, it was really helpful. It's really awesome. I'm going to try to incorporate them as often as I can. We had to order some like specialty size like floor registers, the air vents for one of the properties, and it arrived. I got it shipped to my house, and I went home to get it because FedEx sent me a little text message that said your package has arrived. So I went home to get it, and the kids were extraordinarily excited. And I opened it up, and they were bound and determined to help me install that register, which is a floor register. So all it does is drop in. But you know, my wife and I listen to some like parenting podcasts and whatnot. And one of the things that one of the podcasts we were listening to said was never pass up the opportunity to hold your kid's hand. Like if they ask to hold your hand. And I just kind of got that feeling. I was just like, man, they are not going to want to go to these properties with me forever. So let me take advantage of this now. So we loaded up our Honda Odyssey and we took a family trip to the property, and together as a family, we installed that floor register. It took my son about 5 seconds, but we did it. What service for real estate investing would you say is a business that is underserved? What service for real estate investing would you say is a business that is underserved? Man, Ian, I know this is a good question, but I don't quite understand it. Underserved. I'm tempted to say almost everything that goes into an interior rehab. I mean, I think one of the property management underserved. Renovations? I think so. I mean, What I learned about that little stint of rehab that I did, I mean, it was just one property, and we're going to do a couple more. We're closing on another property on the 23rd of July, and we're going to be doing that one ourselves. But yeah, I mean, I think there's not much to it. It's just it really comes down to work ethic and doing it. There are some, like trades that are skill related, electric, plumbing, a lot of carpentry, like the cabinet hangings and whatnot. But as far as like painting, flooring, and like the bulk of the work that really transforms the house, I mean, that just comes down to sheer willpower and labor hours. So I would kind of say that uh, just finding people willing to work diligently, I think that's something there. Hey, Will, there's my brother. Do we leverage technology to find deals? Not as well as we should. PropStream is a service that we use. They're an awesome software. They can make finding deals extraordinarily easy. We haven't utilized much of what they have to offer. Our realtors and wholesalers probably use that technology a lot more effective than we do. Leverage technology to find deals. No, we should. We should a lot more. I think in a perfect world, if we had the property management and the acquisitions like really finely tuned, then I think the next logical arm of our business should be, I'm not going to say bringing wholesaling in house, because, any and all ways that we can get deals on our desk, we should take. But it would also be really cool to do our own direct mail marketing and really get kind of granular in marketing for the exact deals that we're looking for. I think that would be fun. And I think PropStream has all of the tools we need to do that. It's just a matter of getting the amount of time or the right person willing to do that for us. Actually, we've had a lot of people on YouTube reach out to us lately asking how they could help us. Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we should just go ahead and start attempting to put together a marketing arm. One guy's in Maryland said he wants to figure out how to help us remotely. So there's probably a lot more there that we should do. Great channel. Do you play around in stocks at all? Not really, man. One of the things that I try to avoid is investing in things that I don't have positive control over, which is why real estate investing really fits up like right up that alley. Whether a stock goes up or down has nothing to do with me. And in the event that it goes down, there's nothing I can do. Just be a fly on the wall watching the dollar amount tank. So with real estate, if something bad starts happening, then generally you can step in and fix it. Positive control is important in my book. Wholesaling, mortgage brokering, accounting services for real estate investing, etc. Underserved, though. Underserved is the word that I'm getting hung up on, though, Ian. Accounting services for real estate investors, I think that's probably one area that's a big gap. I think a lot of real estate investors at some point decide to bring it in-house just because of a lot of the professional accounting services that we used. I mean, in theory, each property is its own class, and every expense, no matter how small, needs to be assigned to a specific property. So in the single family space, when you have hundreds of these classes and each purchase, no matter how small, needs to be attributed to one property, that gets pretty labor intensive. So if we had, 3 apartment buildings, then it wouldn't be so bad. It would just be picking out one of 3. But knowing, and all the corresponding utility payments and whatnot. That is an area where I really feel like it's very labor intensive for the accounting, making it extraordinarily expensive. And then I think most real estate investors that don't want to pay those professional accounting services bring it in-house. I think they're probably doing a really bad job at it. Just guessing. Because it's not the highest and best use of the real estate investor's time. So it's one of those things that I think there's a big gap. I don't really know how to automate it because, you know, most companies, they have like, okay, if I purchase anything from Lowe's, then it is in office supply. Well, in the real estate world, if you purchase anything from Lowe's, it could be for any of your properties. So you have to identify those individual purchases and put them towards a specific property. So I don't know. That's an area that could probably use a massive upgrade. But, you know, there's that. Will you guys branch out to more Ohio cities? What's the next big goal? I don't know if we're going to branch out to more Ohio cities. We have a pretty long-term plan in place for a big vision for Dayton. I'm pretty committed to that. Really want to see it all the way through. One of my only professional inspirations, Mr. Donald Bryn. He has been in real estate investing for like 50 some years and has never done a single transaction outside of his county in California. So I think that's really cool. I would kind of like to emulate that on a much smaller scale here in Dayton. And I would really like to make a positive impact and a noticeable change in Dayton. That would make me feel really good if I were like on a deathbed or something in like 60 or 70 or 150 years. Who knows? Who knows when my expiration date is, and looking back on what I accomplished with my life. I get 150 years is likely unrealistic. What's the next big goal? I think the one that is the easiest to quantify is reaching 350 properties. That's on our 3-year goal, which started at the beginning of this year. At the beginning of this year, we started with 80 properties. We're currently at like 100 somewhere between 135 and 140. So we're well on our way. We're going to try to get to 175-ish by the end of the year, and then 350 in the next 2 years or so. So that's our easiest, most quantifiable goal. And then we've got some really cool things planned for when we hit 350 based on the projected revenue. It'll be pretty fun. Yeah, I think that's our big goal. Dayton is a great rental market. I'm jealous of the prices you guys have up there, and I'm too lazy to commute there for properties. There's one Cincinnati guy that I'm friends with that is starting to invest here in Dayton. He's doing a great job. And yeah, I am hoping that we're not far behind you guys as far as appreciation goes. So, I mean, I remember when I first moved up here, there were 4 units in Cincinnati going for over 200 grand, and it just blew my mind because our 4 units were still going for lesser than 100 grand. But now our 4 units are in fact creeping up. So there have been a few that hit the market listed at like 205. So we're trending in the right direction, but I don't think we're ever going to catch up to either Cincinnati or Columbus, just from a sheer like business footprint or whatnot. Awesome. Hour and 30 minutes in, 15 people on the call, feeling real good. July 17th, if I did my math right. No, I didn't. Next Friday is not the 17th. Next Friday would be the 16th. So July 16th, we had Daniel requested that we do a live auction assessment. So next week on the live stream at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to spend some time looking at the upcoming sheriff sales and analyzing the properties and whether or not they are a good deal, which is going to be tons of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. We don't do much of it. When we first started out and we wanted to tackle as many deals as possible, and we were having a big capital crunch or a capital issue, we partnered with other people so that we had to put 50% down instead of 100. So we've got a couple joint ventures, but for the most part, we avoid them now, just because uh, we don't necessarily need to, but we're also not necessarily opposed to it if the person is right, if the character traits, if the core values align, the missions align. I think it's something that we would entertain. I think if you're getting started, it's probably not a bad idea, but once you become kind of established and able to stand on your own legs, it's probably not necessary. Unless it's a situation like Will and I, where you just make a really good team and it makes sense to do it together rather than alone. So there is that. It was kind of fun. Will and I hired a business coach, and the business coach wanted us to do all sorts of like personality tests. And Will and I's personality strengths, like seldom do they overlap. I think there's only like two or three of our like top 10 strengths that overlapped, and the rest were like completely complementary. So together, we almost make a really solid, like we almost hit all of the strengths across the board. So that was really cool. Uh, we've always known that we make a really good team, but seeing it on paper and how our skill sets and strengths are different and complementary was really cool. Western New York has had steady growth of housing prices and rent. Do you believe that we have hit a peak? Each market is so different. I think this is the perfect time to find that first investment property. I agree with all of those things that you just said. I think, except the speculation on whether or not we're at a peak. I really don't know. I don't know how to call it. I personally have never been through like back in 2008. I was not in real estate investing, barely out of high school. Um, so to be fair, I have not been in like a market downturn. And the first property that we purchased in 2017, I do remember though that when we were getting started, everybody was saying that we've hit a peak. Housing prices have just increased so much. We're surely to have a correction soon. And if I listened to that, if I sat on the sidelines, then we wouldn't have the portfolio that we do today. So I am never an advocate of sitting on the sidelines. I'm a huge advocate of approaching both aggressively and as conservatively as possible, while also being aggressive. So it's one of those things. I think it's always a good time to buy a rental property. I think if you were to look at stocks and the accepted wisdom in stocks is that you should always dollar cost average, is what they like to call it. So whether the market is up or down, you put in just fixed amounts of money in weekly, monthly, daily increments, and you're going to buy some overpriced, you're going to buy some underpriced. And that's by and large our philosophy as well. We've gotten some absolutely fantastic deals when the market was not as high as it is now. And I still think we're getting some fantastic deals. So, 50, 60, 150 years from now, when we look back, we're going to have bought at the bottom, we're going to have bought at the top. That's our plan. Myers-Briggs. No, it was called, starts with a G maybe. Boy, you would ask this question, Ian Clip. I don't know off the top of my head. Do you keep separate Excel sheets for the expenses for each of your property? We use QuickBooks. And we have all of our properties in QuickBooks separated by classes. We also use Appfolio as our property management software, which is in fact also accounting software, which could be used in place of QuickBooks, but we are not suave enough to know. There's got to be a massive learning curve of that, and we just don't understand how to make that switch or if that switch is even worthwhile. And right now, not many accounting firms are well versed in Appfolio because it is like a niche thing. Every accounting firm is well versed in QuickBooks, so for that reason, we use QuickBooks over Appfolio. But no, we don't use spreadsheets. We use QuickBooks. Yeah, good question. And yeah, looking forward to chatting. Strength assessment. Boy, let me. Gallup. That's what it is. The Gallup. GALLUP. The Gallup Strength Assessment. If you can't get a traditional mortgage for an off-market property, what would be your go-to financing options? I found a great deal under 45K. I'm willing to make anything happen. What would you do? So we have a network of private investors, and we would likely approach one of them, offer them a first position mortgage on the property. So like a friend, family member, we'd probably borrow, depending on I know you say the purchase price is 45,000. So let's say the after repair value is 95,000. And you know what? Let's round it up to 100 for easy numbers. So you're buying it for 45. The after repair value is 100. It needs 20 grand worth of work. So you need 65,000 and it'll be worth 100,000. Most banks, when they do refinances, will do 75% loan to value, which means you can borrow up to 75,000. You could turn the property and then you could refinance it and cash out whatever first position mortgage holder you have with the traditional bank money and not have any of your own money out of pocket. And that is what I would encourage you to do. I would probably only borrow exactly what you need. So the 45,000 to purchase it, the $20,000 to rehab it. You have a loan, a first position mortgage of 65,000. After closing costs, let's say you've got, 17, 18 grand in your pocket to go make the rehabs. So then now you have a hard budget. Do anything you can to stay under that budget, and then get a renter in there. And after you have owned the property for however long necessary, then you can go ahead and get a traditional loan on the property. However, as I was answering your question, I also realized that just because it's an off-market property doesn't mean you aren't able to get a traditional loan on it. You very well might be able to, especially if the property is already rent ready. You can likely go ahead and approach a bank. All you need to approach the bank is a signed purchase agreement. You don't even need a signed purchase agreement. I guess you also need to get pre-approved by the bank for the loan amount of $45,000 or greater. And then once you take the purchase agreement to them, then they would start their due diligence process and all. Nice. Cool. Yeah, that would be my game plan. I might suggest you talk to a mortgage broker as well. Yeah, I agree. One hour and 42 minutes and 17 viewers on the call. Super appreciative of everybody. And I'm also really eager to get out to these properties today. Check on those fans. Make some phone calls to some of you viewers. Looking forward to making a few connections today. Well, unless you all have any additional questions, I think this is a good stopping point. I'm also just eager to check out these fans. You know, I got to be honest with you guys. Day one of a water remediation hobbyist, it's pretty good. There's water in the basement. I'm drying it out. Once I get the dehumidifier with that 40-foot drain hose, man, not even the wettest of basements can get in my way. We already have one of those submersible pumps. Does about 30 gallons. I don't know. I was about to say 30 gallons a minute, but that just seems like a lot. Maybe 20 gallons a minute. That still seems like a lot. I'm just imagining like a grocery cart and like gallons of milk, and you can't fit 20 gallons of milk in one grocery cart. I'm pretty sure. I've also never tried. I also don't think it would be prudent to stack gallons of milk on top of each other. I am in Dayton, Ohio. What happened to the basement? So this one actually didn't flood. Uh, well, sort of. What we caused the flood. Well, okay. So people lived there, and we evicted them. Two different houses, and they had dogs that they kept in the basement, and their dogs pooped in the basement very regularly, and very healthy dogs. And we had to clean it up. And also, when we were cleaning it up, we had to use a lot of water. So now there's a lot of standing water in the basement. I say standing water loosely. It's not like a couple inches. It's not like you're going to soak your shoes or anything. It's just water that needs to be dried up. Man. And like the dogs in the basement being kept there and being like allowed to poop in the basement, that's one of the reasons that we're really looking forward to utilizing Rent Check. And that would actually be a good YouTube video to do as well. I'm pretty sure like they send out sometimes quarterly, semi-annually inspections. It's really up to you. And the resident has their own portal where they have to log in and take pictures to inspect the property. And it's all worded in a way that makes a lot of sense to like protect their security deposit so that we cannot claim that they caused damages that they did not cause. So, you know, there's like a move-in one for us to do, and then they do their own throughout their course of living there. And I think in theory, it should protect both sides. It should protect us from ever having these healthy dogs quarantined to the basement. And it should help them for us thinking that they caused damages that they didn't, in fact. Oh, I see. So I'm in Dayton, and Ian is in South Central Ontario. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to be off then. I really appreciate it, all of you. Thanks. And next week, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be right here. And a fraction of what we will be doing next week is a live auction assessment. So we're going to check out some sheriff sales, maybe even some HUD homes. I'm going to make sure that before then, I know exactly how to utilize screen sharing on this computer and in this service. And we're going to use PropStream, the sheriff sale, and a whole bunch of other websites to figure out what is a good deal and what is not a good deal. So I sure do appreciate everybody. Yes, Rent Check. Rent Check. Yep. I don't know where the name came from. It doesn't seem fitting for what they do, but maybe I don't know. I don't know what they intended to do when they first named it, but you're right. It's a strange name. Alrighty. Well, I appreciate it. I will see you all next week. looking forward to it as well. And until then, I'm going to be playing with fans as a certified water remediation hobbyist. All right. See you guys.